Hi, this is Liz here, and this is a video about how to take a Thesis and Wordpress site and lay out the homepage in an alternate way to the default. In order to show you how to do this, I'm using a new website that I'm in the middle of setting up. If I run the cursor down the page, you can see that the 7 posts that exist are all showing on the homepage in full. They've got no pictures and nothing else going on. The first decision I need to make then is how many posts do I want to have on my homepage? It's not generally a good idea to have lots and lots of posts on your homepage. Google doesn't look very highly on something it calls duplicate content. Now, admittedly, the homepage does go on to have more on it, but the first 300 characters are exactly the same as the actual post page. That's why it makes sense to have excerpts or tiny bits of each post on the home page. So let's assume for the purposes of this exercise that we want to have 6 posts on the home page, but 4 of them will be teasers and 2 of them will be full posts. Okay, so to effect 6 posts on the home page, what we do is we go into the back end of the site and scroll down to the WordPress settings and then reading, and make sure it says your latest posts here and change it from 10 posts to 6, and then click on Save Changes. So the number you place in there will determine how many posts appear on the home page. So if you remember, I had 7 posts, so now if I refresh I should only have 6. 2 is the last one because 1 has now fallen off the end because we've asked for only 6 to show on the home page. The next thing to do is to make sure that only the first 2 are in full or featured posts and the remaining 4 are teasers. So if we go back to the dashboard and click on Design Options within the Thesis section, and then go down to Features and Teasers, and instead of the number of featured posts to show being the same as the number of posts on the home page, as is the default, we pick the number we actually want to be featured, and then we press on the Save button. If we now click over onto our home page and do a reload, we'll see that we now have 2 posts in full and 4 as teasers, making a total of 6. The next thing we want to do is to satisfy the question I was asked by putting in a link here to say click for more, so that it's not the entire post that's showing in the featured post section. To do that, we go back and note that all the posts will need to have a more tag inserted. So I'm going to do that to all of them now. Click onto the posts and start editing them. So I'll start with the first one, and I've decided that I want the more tag to be here. So I work in the HTML editor, but if you work in the visual editor, I'll just click over to that and say it's here that we want it to appear. Our link, you look for this symbol here, insert more tag, and there it is. If I click over onto HTML, you can see that's just come out as the actual tag more. If I was in the HTML editor, I'd have simply clicked that one, more. So having clicked it, I can click on Update. Then I go back to Posts, and I do that for all my posts. I'll put one in here. I remain in the HTML editor, therefore I'm going to click on that one. Then do an update, go back to Posts. I'll stop the video here while I do that for all of them. Okay, I've done all the posts now. I've decided where I want the post to break and where I'd like the Read More link to appear by adding the more tag. So now when we look at the site, we can see that our 2 featured posts are now much shorter and they have click to continue. And the bottom 4 are teasers. Okay, the next question is, what do we do about images? Right, now there are 2 approaches to images within Thesis, and I'll go through both of them. You can choose to upload all your images inside your WordPress site. And if we go to the library here, the media library, I've uploaded a number of images here already. Now normally I don't like to do this. In fact, I normally never upload anything to the media library. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. But for the purpose of this demo, I have uploaded some images. And when you've uploaded some images, you can view them or you can edit them. Let's edit the panda one. And when you edit an image in the media library, it gives you the URL of the image, which you can then copy. So I've done that. And now I can go back to my posts and I can click on the first post and decide that the panda belongs in this post. And I can do that in Thesis by simply specifying the post image URL here. And I can say whether I want to frame it or not, and whether I want it to be wrapped around the text, above or below the headline, and I make some decisions here. And then I can click on Update. When I refresh that page again, the home page, I now have an image nicely wrapped with my text in the post in which I applied the image. I'm going to go in and add another one here, and I'll do a dolphin on this one. Again, I'm using the Thesis standard way of doing it, which is I just put a link to the image here, except this time it's a dolphin, and then do an update, and then refresh the home page. And now my first and my second featured post both have images. I'm going to keep on doing that. I'm going to add an image using the same technique to the next two posts, which will be this one. Again, post image. Only this time it's going to be a hippo. And in the next one, in part 4, this one, I'm going to put a turtle. So this time when we refresh, the two featured posts still have their large images, but the two other posts in which I put the large images, they now have thumbnails. And the question is, why? Why is this? The reason is that Thesis has built into it that if you use this technique in the post, in other words, if you upload your images to the media library here, but then proceed to use those URLs from the media library on your own site and specify the large image to go here, it will auto-format the post for the teaser to have a thumbnail. That's an auto-formatting thumbnail. Now, I don't normally do this. I don't normally host my images on my blog. I use Amazon S3 and host the images as far away from my blog as possible. There's reasons for that. I won't go into why, but I will set up these two posts here to have images done the way I do them. If I edit article part 3, I will have uploaded my images onto Amazon S3, and because when you host your images away from your blog, Thesis can't control those images. It cannot auto-size the thumbnails. But equally, I can have more than one large image in my post. So if I'm going to now edit part 3 of this and not use the media library at all, but I'm actually going to put my own image in by hand, if I decide to use the elephant on this post, I might put my cursor there, say image, and then specify an image. And because I tend to do things by hand and I don't use the visual editor, you may have another way of doing it. I'll just quickly put a style of CSS on this to format this image the way I want it to be formatted, which will be to float it left and then do a margin right of 10px, and I normally put a margin top of 5px there. So if I now update that and then go over to the home page, we should see that actually nothing has changed. There is no elephant here because this is still the teaser. We have to actually visit the real page, and there is my hand-placed elephant. But because I've hand-placed this elephant and not used Thesis's built-in methods based on the fact that you normally have to host on the blog itself and not on a host of your choice, Thesis has been unable to auto-format the thumbnail for me, so I have to do it myself. Now, I've prepared a small thumbnail image of the elephant, and that is also hosted on Amazon S3. And all I have to do is go to the post and put it in the thumbnail image here and update. Now, if I click across and do a refresh on the home page, the thumbnail should appear in the right place here. And yep, there it is. I just want to tell you one more thing. If we go back to this particular post, I hand placed this here because I might have wanted possibly to have more than one image in this. I might have wanted to have, say, another image here. Let's say I wanted the turtle. I'll just change that to be the turtle. If I click on update and then go across to the home page, obviously there's still only one thumbnail, but because I've placed two images in the body of the main post, when I click on the post itself, I've got the elephant and the turtle now in the main body of the post. If I go back, that's because I put that there and I put another one in here. And I mean, you could do this with the visual editor, it's just I choose to do it in HTML. Now, if I hadn't done that, if I was happy with only one image in a post, I wouldn't have had to place them myself, whether by hand with HTML or with the visual editor. I could have just taken the image URL from Amazon S3 and put it in here. The thing is that that only works for one image, but it also allows you not to have to use HTML or the visual editor to place your image. If you've only got the one image, you can put it in the post image URL box, and then you can choose whether to frame or not frame, wrap it left with text, have it above or below the headline. In other words, all the things that I did by hand, you can just do by selecting options here. So now if I update, I've taken it out of the main body. There are no images in the main body. I've just used Thesis's two opportunities here, one for the post image and one for the thumbnail image. Just to be clear, before I placed them in here by hand, and I didn't put anything here at all into this post image URL box, but I did make use of the thumbnail image box. Anyway, having done that, if I do an update and then click across, we'll see that the two that I had before will be gone, and they'll be replaced by the auto placement mechanism that Thesis allows you. And there it is there. And of course the thumbnail image cannot be auto generated. We had to place it by hand, as here, because in this case I was hosting not on my blog. The auto generation only works if you're hosting from your media library. I hope that made sense. Okay, so now if I go back to the home page, we have achieved our click at any point in the post that we desire by placing the more tag. We've been able to specify the number of featured posts we want, and we've got thumbnails on 3 out of the 4 teasers. Now the reason this thumbnail is bigger than this is because I specified my hand-placed thumbnails, i.e. the ones that were in the thumbnail URL box on the post, to be 100 by 100, and these were auto-generated by Thesis, and they're a bit smaller for that. I haven't done anything on this one, which is why it hasn't got a thumbnail. Well, I hope that makes sense, and I hope you're able to replicate that on your blog. Thank you.